Good morning. We are back again on another edition of the Financial Literacy Program. My name is Lorato Khumolemo and I welcome you as we count our rands and cents together. Now, last week we began our knowledge and direction on investments in retirement, a very, very critical topic that we thought our people would want to know about. We are back this week. Kharatsa Maya Mutlarens. We are here again, and again, even on this edition, we are joined by a live audience that is going to interact with our panel of experts. I am not alone. Winpro is here with me, Standard Bank is here with me, FNB is here with me. It's good to have everybody here today. Let's start with a round of introductions so that everybody knows who we are talking about. Winnie, let's start with you.
Hi everyone, my name is Winnie Kamulani. I'm a financial advisor from Winpro Financial Services. It's good to be here again.
Hello everybody, my name is Mivoyo Palintulo. I am the head of affordable housing at Nedbank Home Loans.
Hi everyone, my name is Manna Pule Khotle. I'm from FNB. I'm a support banker. It's nice to be here.
Hi everyone. Same old face, new dress. I'm Melissa Romain from Standard Bank. I am the regional manager for the Free State team that looks after all the financial planners in the province.
Today, we change gears. We start talking on property. We think property is an important topic to link with investments, which we spoke about last week. And we want to know what our people would like to know about this. Later on, our audience joins us in this conversation as they will be asking us questions and we will be responding to them. Me? Can we start with you?
Yeah.
Let's begin this topic. Now, let's talk about, you know, the easiest property that we always refer to is a house. It's the first thing that we always do. A car, bankers would tell me the liability. Yes. But a house is the first formidable asset that we really look at. When is one financially ready to purchase
A house.
a property?
That's actually a very important question. And I would say one is ready when they are financially healthy.
Right.
And we consider you to be financially healthy when there is more money coming in than money going out.
Right.
So essentially, your financial position is so sound that you've got more income and that you can honor your financial obligations, that all necessary expenses are being paid for, and that with that still you've got sufficient money that's left over for saving or for investing.
Right.
Because rightfully, like you said, property is one of the biggest investments that anyone will ever make. With that being said, it's also a long debt obligation.
Right.
So it's not something that you just wake up and decide to buy, get up and buying a pair of shoes, you know. So financial planning plays a key critical role when you decide now is the right time to buy property. And I think one of the mistakes that a lot of people make is to think financial planning is for the middle class, it's for the elite, it's for rich people.
Right.
Anyone can actually, do financial planning. Yes, it's, you plan your financials so that you prepare for your short-term, medium-term, long-term goals. But, and it's got nothing to do with income.
Right.
At any level of income, whether you 5,000, whether you 50,000, financial planning is important. It's a very important step to take before you purchase such a big asset, like you're saying. So, and I think for me, anyone can achieve financial health as long as you, you make use of your resources and the money that you have at your disposal efficiently. So, if you can get that right, then anyone is ready to purchase a home.
I see.
That's the important step.
Right. And we're going to, as we continue with these conversations that we're on, one of the critical ones that we want to get into within the month of June is debt. But I want us to talk about, do people still save for them to buy property?
Yeah, absolutely, because remember, saving enables you to invest.
Right.
So property is also a form of investment. So for instance, if you want to purchase a house, maybe in 3 years' time, you would then need to save some sort of collateral or what we call a deposit to the bank that you could put forward as something for them to grant you that bond, because it is important that how we are banking o lo batla tšhelete kapo o lo batla o applyela for ntlo o kgone le wena o ba bontsha gore no, actually I am somebody who is able to save. This is my 200,000 that I've been saving for the past 2 years. Mpheng tšhelete ke batla o reka ntlo. So it is important to save for that investment, because we don't save to save, we save to invest.
We do not save
To save.
to save.
We save to invest.
We save to invest.
Yeah.
You're going to teach me more about that. Menpi, what's up?
I'm good.
Ke currently.
Good, good.
Go na le ntate o mong ha bua, we all listen, but ke ene ntate le setša kganya. In this economy of the governor, are we still in a position to buy property? You know, and I'm asking, o ile maabane, a re bolela ka 50-point basis, you know, sekgowa seo sa finance mona. But you know, at this point where there has been so many changes in the economy, and every time I think Lesetja has spoken so many times this year, is it a good idea for me to buy property?
Okay. I will start property, like we said. It's one of those investments. So where you put your money,
Yes.
where you will at least earn the return at a later stage. So I will say, at this time, we can wait just a little bit for you to buy a property
Right.
because of there's already changes that are going to be made based on the interest rates that have
have been
changed.
hiked, yes.
So I would say you can just wait just a little bit.
Okay.
Just wait for Ntatel Kganyago
To come back again.
again. Then you can consider buying a property.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mel, with that said, what are the red flags? When I want to invest in property, and I'm a first-time buyer, what are some of the things that I should consider that should make me not to buy that particular property?
Research. I think it's important because, like you said earlier, it's not like a pair of shoes that if you don't like it, you give it back.
Yes.
So you've got to be very, I almost want to say fussy about the property that you've identified.
Yes.
Make sure that it's a good neighborhood. You know, check and see if the other houses in the area, are there any open or vacant properties? Because that might be a sign that something's not okay in the area. You know, what do the service delivery levels look like? You know, is there garbage in the street the whole week when you drive past there? There might be some other issues that are not as obvious. Has the house been on the market for quite a long time? Because that's another sign. Either it's overpriced or there's something there that's not okay with the property.
Right.
It might look pretty from the outside,
Right.
but it might be rotten on the inside.
Yes.
So those are just some of the things that you want to make sure. Is it the same agent, the one that is selling the property, that is involved with the buy? Again, it might be people that are, you know, friends and they want to get rid of this property. So do your research, and there's some fantastic resources which I can chat about as we go on through the episode.
Okay. Me, I just, Winnie wants to say something
I
before
wanted to just find out. I know my brother mentioned that this is not the right time to buy.
Yes.
Maybe is this maybe a buyer's market or a seller's market now? Because there's that thing of a buyer's market or a seller's
Okay.
market.
So who does it favor?
Yeah.
That's what you're
Yes,
asking.
yes.
At this particular
Yes,
time.
yes,
A nna ke rekise
Kapo.
kgotsa wena o reke. That's what you're asking.
Based on the interest rates, yeah.
Okay. Me, can you come in there? Ke a bona Winnie is helping me run this program. So it's
Look, for me, I think it's a matter of who can negotiate the best.
better.
Better, yes. You know, And I mean, I sell houses, so please, Hurikanda, it's not a good time to sell. You're killing my business. You're killing my business. So, and like, if property is considered to be one of the biggest investments, there is no wrong time to buy.
Right.
There'll never be the wrong time to buy because it's an appreciating asset.
Yeah.
Regardless of what the interest rates look like,
Right.
it'll always appreciate in value. And we will not always see the high interest rates. It's a cycle.
Okay.
It will go down.
Right.
It will go down, and you'll still have the property which would have appreciated in value.
Because what goes up must come down eventually.
Yes, it will. And we may not see the lower levels as we saw during COVID, because that was an unforeseen circumstance and event. It won't go back to that level unless another pandemic happens.
Okay.
But God forbid it doesn't happen. But
Not in
the
this
rates will go down and they will be manageable.
Okay.
There was a time that interest rates were as high as 25%.
Sure.
There was a time, and people still bought properties.
Right. Interesting.
Is that not, and you are able to mention that there was a time where interest rates were at 25%, right? And people continued to buy property. Now, maybe Mel, let me throw this at you. In a case like that, where perhaps the interest rates have hiked so much, I want to retain my property, right? What are some of the mitigating options that I have with my financial institution? Because it would mean I need to go see my financial advisor and we need to talk about it. So what are some of the options that I have if I want to keep the property, but I am financially strained?
So I think the most important thing is speak before you miss your first payment.
Okay.
So
Don't
a
run
lot
away
of
from the
times
bank.
people only want to ask for help when it's almost too late.
Okay.
So go early the moment you can see, like after our uncle was on the TV and you calculate and you go, I don't know, this extra 1,000 rand is going to put me in a bind. Make an appointment and go see the institution that financed your property. So whether it is an Uber or a SA Home Loans or a bank, go and sit down and discuss with them. There's the option to fix your interest rate, for example. There is the option to refinance. So let's say, for example, you took out a 20-year bond and you are now 5 years into it. Now you hit this tough time. You could possibly go and renegotiate for them to extend that period so that you then have an extra 5 years and the monthly payment then reduces. So there's always a way to restructure things, but not if you've now already missed 6 months and then you're expecting somebody to help you. It puts everyone in an uncomfortable position.
Right.
So I always say a property is something that is probably one of your biggest legacies that you can leave to family and people to come. So that's the kind of attitude and means you need to protect it by. It's that important.
Okay. Mempi, now we're budgeting. And Vuyo said you must be financially healthy for you to buy property, right? What are the additional things that I must know I need to budget for? Because sometimes we think we are ready because the bank has approved my loan, right? But I have not considered additional things that I must think about when I'm buying property.
Okay, first of all, we need to know that why are we buying that property?
Okay.
So we must differentiate between the want and the needs. Whether whatever I'm buying now is something that I'm going to need or I'm investing in.
Right.
So meaning whatever you're doing with your money, you need to know what do you want to achieve with it.
Okay.
So I can say, yes, budgeting is one of the things that immediately when you start to get some income or earning, you need to start with. So you need to prioritize your things. You need to prioritize your needs. You need to prioritize your wants so that the budgeting can work for you.
Okay. We've spoken about property exchanging hands. What are some of the impacts or the gray areas? I'm not sure if I should call them the gray areas, but things that I should consider. If a property has exchanged hands, meaning Winnie was the original owner, but you bought it, and then I bought it, and then he bought it. Now we're selling it to Mel, right? He is selling it to Mel. Does that have an impact on the actual sale?
So cost-wise, there would be the transfer costs.
Okay.
So if she's the original buyer, so say she's buying in a new development, which normally comes with already transfer costs and bond registration costs are included.
Okay.
So she would have won the jackpot there.
Okay.
And then everybody else in that process down the string then has to pay the transfer cost to transfer it from her name to my name.
Okay.
And in my name to yours. And it's not cheap.
So it escalates.
It escalates and it's based on the property value. And remember now, this is an appreciating asset.
Okay.
So high rekisa, say we rekisa at a higher amount,
Okay.
the transfer price also goes up because the value is higher now. Linaki rekisa se ke era millionaire.
I see.
Yes.
I see.
In that sense.
Then let's speak about let's speak about haki aga. Kisa reiki, right? Because I think that is also a technicality. A lot of people want to buy land and then build their own, right? What are the implications when I am building as opposed to buying?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question, because a lot of our people, they think actually building for yourself is much cheaper than buying, because they buy land, and land is usually at that point cheaper because it doesn't involve the structure. So for instance, maybe I don't know how many square meters it is,
Right.
as opposed to buying those square meters already with the structure built, then it would be like maybe 1.2 million. But if you buy that structure, if you buy that land, it would be around maybe 500,000, and then you would have to now go and build on that structure. So what the implications there is that you have to be very, very technically clever in terms of planning your things, because there's the issue of first before you build. I know a client of mine who went and built a house. She retired. After retiring, she went and bought land. You know those yards who have other yards at the back that you can build another house? So she bought
Yes.
that yard, and it was quite good and big. So she built, after building and the foundation was here. She says the foundation was around here. Then the municipality came and said, actually, you can't build this sort of foundation. You need to demolish it. We're going to take the sand, the soil, and take it to the lab to test it, to see what kind of foundation can be put on this land. So it comes with those technicalities as well, where you have to go into the robust research in terms of what is it that is needed in terms of the foundation. When you figure that out, then go to, these days, the Plekete Builders Market and so on, you can literally bring your plan. Also that you have to count it in,
Yes.
that plan, the architectures,
Yes.
they're quite costly as well. So you take that architecture, the plan, how we setting money, over the quotation from foundation till the roof, so that you know the cost. So, okay, in so many square meters, therefore this will be the cost. And it doesn't end there. Now, ho na le di-certificate tsa municipality, tse hlokahalang tsa motlakase, tsa tubing, all of that, you have to now count them in. And it doesn't end there as well. There's labor, and all of that. So all of that needs to be counted in before you can actually say, A is better than B. So do your robust checks, because it might be cheaper, but it might be costly. The question is, are you ready for that cost? Maybe cost is not a problem, but are you ready? Can you be responsible and be committed to that journey? But it's always beautiful to build your own house. You can how the way walk in your house and all of that. I also like that.
Winnie, can I jump on the... oftentimes people build for what they like. And the flip side of that is, Do you want to keep that property forever?
Yeah.
Or do you want to be able to sell it to somebody else? So even when you are building, you must consider, am I building this just for me, for what I want now? Or do you want to build it for something that will be able to sell and somebody else can also enjoy? And that's where people get come unstuck. Now they've built this fantastic, beautiful double-story house in an area where people don't like double-story houses, and then they can't sell it. You know, so that's sort of the other side to also, because we don't think that far ahead. We just want this beautiful house we've dreamed of all our lives. And then the practical side of it is that actually nobody else likes that design very much. They wanted the kitchen in the back and not in the front. So, you know, how do you work in that cost as well? Because that's a possible loss for you when you are building. Your kids might not like the house that you build either, so then what?
Yeah.
I think equally, one of the critical parts also of this conversation is building on what we call tribal land as opposed to kutoropo.
Okay.
Wabon. Because akere ko gae ke mosenyana wa ko Tau. Mama le papa ba ko Tau. And their consideration may be that it's easy. And I think that is something that should be considered, because these conversations have been had on social media platforms where we say, well, it's easy to build property in rural areas as opposed to urban areas, right? Because there's so many things that you need to consider. But I think one of the things that we need to bring into that conversation particularly is that any form of investment that goes into you acquiring would need financial advice.
Yeah.
Because whether I'm building on tribal land, I'm building in an urban area, I would still need to be advised on whether I'm financially healthy, whether I've planned properly for me to buy, and whether I would be able to, after whether I'm buying or building, would be able to maintain
Yeah.
that property. Mel, there are people who do not know what interest rates are.
Yeah.
I want us to simplify the English of interest rates and how that English ties in with property.
So the simplest way to put it is nothing is for mahala. You know, everybody's got to pay something for what you get.
Yes.
You know, so I always try to, sometimes we can overcomplicate these things so much. Just remember, if I give you something, I'm going to expect something back.
Yes.
And 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to expect the same thing back as well.
Yes.
Because you would have used it, it's not in the same form. So I want something better than what I gave you. And that is what interest rates basically are. The bank gives you money, their interest is in, well, I've given you this, so you must give it back to me plus. Because where else were you going to get it if I didn't give it to you? So that's, nothing is for mahala, guys. Interest is that thing that is not for mahala.
Okay. And if I buy a house, if I buy property, how do the interest rates affect me?
It's one of those things where you start cutting out the shopping sprees out of your budget. So every time the interest rates obviously increase, and if you are still paying a bond, you have to pay back more. So there was something that one of you mentioned earlier, and I think in a previous episode, one of the audience members asked about running away from tax.
Yes.
You know, and one of the things that people often don't know is that there's even a tax that you have to pay when it comes to buying a property over certain values. There's a transfer duty tax. So the tax man sauce is even in that pie. You know, so we don't talk about these things because when people buy a house, everybody just sees the house and what it looks like. But nobody goes and sits and says, okay, when I bought the house, I needed to have a deposit. I needed to have the transfer costs. Nobody speaks about the fact that there's insurance that needs to be
Yes.
taken out on that building. You know, and where you are building, is that land insurable? Back to your point, you could be building on a piece of land that is considered to be unsafe and the whole house could slide away. So now the insurance doesn't cover you. We've seen that happen in KZN with all of the floods. Houses were built in areas where they never should have been built. So those are the things that we need to talk about. We must, next time somebody in your family buys a house, go and sit and ask them, can you please give me an idea of what extra you had to pay in order to get this house? What are the kind of things that nobody told you about that you were supposed to do? When you are selling, there's costs. You think you are just selling your house. You have to pay for the electrical certificate. You have to pay for all sorts of funny things. You think you're just selling your house and you can move on and into the next, and then you suddenly start getting these bills that you have to pay. Nobody prepared me for that one, let me tell you that.
I'm going to bring, and I want the team to tell me if we have any questions from the floor, because I'd like our people to also just, have this conversation and ask some of the most natural questions that have happened to them when they wanted to acquire property. But Mel, you're raising a very important issue, and we can talk about it. The fact that when I leave a property in a particular condition, so let's say I'm the seller, right? And I decide before I sell the property, I must renovate it and I must paint and I must, the wiring must be done properly. That changes the value of the house. Because you are finding it in a better state, right? So I am in a position to sell it for a better price, right? I'm correct. Okay, they're all nodding. Yes, it means I'm getting this right. So then my money would be a little bit better than if I was just to sell it in the normal state that I found it in, right? Now, when I am the seller, what conversation do I have with my bank when I want to sell my property? And any one of you could take that question. Me?
My sister here.
Sorry.
I trust her.
So can I say first, yes, it's good to maintain your property and to make sure that you sell it in a good position. It
Right.
does influence the price at the end of the day to a certain extent.
To a certain extent.
To a certain extent.
Okay.
There's still a picture of, looking at the market, looking at the area,
Okay.
and
Yes.
that also plays a huge role.
Fundamental role. Okay.
So just because you can say the new tiles, you can't push the price by like an extra $1 million.
Okay.
So there's things that matter, the area, the location, where it is.
Yes.
So that also plays a huge role. Then your conversation with the bank will be about how much are you owing?
On the house.
Yeah, how much is
Currently.
outstanding
Fine.
currently
Okay.
versus what is the value of the property, taking into account the location, the market dynamics, and end.
Okay.
So you always want to, and then also the buyer will want to negotiate. Even though we look at it against the tiles and say, now we negotiate, give me 50 less. Hey, get it.
Yes.
Everybody wants something cheap.
Yes. We want to bargain.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then again, it's a battle of who can negotiate best. But at the end of the day, the bank must not lose. You must repay what you owe the bank,
Right.
which plays a huge role.
Nothing is for mahala.
One of the things that people don't always know is when you are selling, you have to give notice to the institution. It's
To the
called for your
institution,
bond cancellation.
So to the institution, it means to the bank.
To the bank or to whomever
To
you
the
borrow the
financial-
money from.
Right.
So you must notify them, I think it's at least 90 days.
Okay.
Because if you don't, then there is a penalty that
Yeah.
you pay for cancelling that bond. It's like, it's almost like you said you were going to use this money for 10 years, now you're only using it for 5. I was budgeting the interest for 5.
So you planned for 10 years for me.
Yes.
So you're
because that
making
was
me
our
pay.
agreement when we started. You were going to pay me back R1 every year for 10 years. Now you're coming to tell me now you're only going to pay me R1 for 5 years.
Yeah.
So there must be a exit between the two of us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And people don't know that, so they carry on, they sell the house, and suddenly then from the profit this amount gets taken away and they don't know what it was for.
Yeah.
Because they didn't actually honor the agreement.
Okay.
Would this be the same if I want to finish my bond earlier?
Like I said, Winnie
And I
is
just
deputy.
want to, I know I've got a 20-year bond, but I want to be smart and finish it earlier. Do I have to make the same arrangement to say,
Yes,
okay,
you have
instead
to
of
notify the
10,000 per
bank that
month,
you are going to be done
can I-
earlier than what the agreement was. Remember, you entered into a legally binding agreement. So if you are now going to finish the bond in 7 years instead of 10, we must notify so that we can meet each other now halfway here.
Okay. I want us to run to an ad break, but when we come back, I think I want to open questions to the floor and hear what our audience would like to know about buying property. We are here to invest and to make sure that we make the right decisions when we do it. Hold on to your seat. We'll be right back.
Good day, everybody. My name is Benny Mvala, and I'm from Standard Bank, and I'm so excited that we are part of this awesome program that the MEC Treasury is running in the province. Today we were talking about savings, and I must say it is very important that in our families, as individuals, as families, as communities, that we start building a savings culture, because remember, whatever that you're not going to save for, you're going to have to find an alternative way to finance it. So let's start building that savings culture. Let's start saving if you're going on vacation. Start saving for when you need to go fix that pothole damage on your car. For whatever the reason is, let's have a goal and build a savings culture that our children can have something that they can work on. Thank you.
Good day, my name is Sahamiti Tai. I'm the accounts manager from Vodacom, looking after public sector. And you might wonder why Vodacom. People know us as just a cell phone and a SIM card, data and airtime, but we are actually more than that. So as Vodacom, we've positioned ourselves very well. We've moved from the normal mainstream that people have known us, and we're calling ourselves as telco. And then within that, we have financial services as Vodacom that we can actually provide to our citizens here in Free State. So we commit ourselves, to the Department of Provincial Treasury here in Free State to bring up those solutions that we can teach our citizens across the Free State province. So thank you.
Today we have a live audience. I'm joined by my experts. We're speaking property. Now, because we have a live audience today, I'm not the only person who's asking the questions today. So, a re utlwe gore batho ba rona ba batla go itseng gore ga o reka kgotsa o rekisa sengwe le sengwe a ke ntlo kgotsa o na le motlagana mo o berekelang teng and you want to sell it. How do you go about it? Fifi?
Good day, everyone.
Agera.
Thank you very much. I heard what the lady said, about the property, how expensive it is when you start a property on the ground. You
Yes.
did all the things, municipality, test the soil and everything.
Yes.
So tell me, there is our old houses like sandstone houses, maybe around here in Clarence, if you saw them. Those were built like maybe 1910, 1912. Were those architects, were those engineers, whatever you call them, were there by then, maybe to, infrastructure-wise, whether the house is going to be, but they were building on the sandstone. Some of them are not cemented in the middle, they put the mat. But now, when you go to the market, if that house is for sale, it's more expensive than these modern houses. What caused that?
Winnie?
Yeah, so these are historical properties. I think there's a lot that goes into the value of that property simply because it's historical, meaning that just like wine, sorry I'm making a bad example.
It may be a good example.
Yeah. The more in Nayahale wine, the more it becomes expensive. Like cheese, the more it ages, the more it becomes expensive. So those properties kana ko yenu, hono na le batho ba teng ba di architects kana ko yenu because molao wa dintho tse ha se ntho e qalang hona jwalo kula o kana ko engwe ho thwe property laws of 1956
Yes.
what so ke di rules tsa khale. It's just that hona jwale technology se ile hodimo and things have developed so much that there's a magnifying glass too much. But I can tell you that there were structures, there were processes in place in Edibeilwe kana ko engwe ha no build wa dintho tseo. That is why the structure kana ko ena since siliteng because it was strong, it was built to last di charajara. Jwale how we batla o reka because it's a historical property. It becomes more expensive than tsena tsa hona jwale. The issue hore ho cementiwe fatshe maybe just a lack of maintenance. Batho ba ntse ba dula mona ha ba khona because anything entle o tshwantse o maintain le yona phela hore e dule e le mo leveling e hantle.
I want to, with that questions that he just asked, and I'm throwing it onto the panel here. How important is it for you to get your property assessed? Because he's bringing in a very fundamental question. At face value, you would think ki property ya khale. It has lost value. But how important is it for you to get your property assessed? And how often should you get your property assessed? Mel? I keep thinking when I'm on my tactic. Let's.
I would say probably every 5 years or so.
Okay.
It's a good benchmark.
Okay.
And I think what you want to know and understand is the area where your house is it actually growing in value or is it deteriorating? Because there's also a big difference between the municipal value of your property versus the selling value, because they just look at a typical structure that has so many things within that same area. You might have put solar on, you might have added, so I mean those are the things that then lift your individual property value. So it's really important to understand where am I more or less in the game. And one of the tools that I think for me has been very valuable is something called Look-See.
Look-See.
And we'll share the details of where you can find it. But in the we are now on our third house because we move a lot. And the first time when we bought a property, I had no idea of what this Look-See was.
Okay.
Then with the second one, what you do is you go on the website, you put in the address of the property that you are wanting to buy, and it gives you a lot of details. It will tell you how old is the structure, at what value did other houses in that area sell recently. It will tell you what the crime statistics are in that area more or less. So it's incredibly valuable because a house can look very pretty. People can put a fresh coat of paint on it, but it might be 75 years old, and all the other houses in the area, you'll see maybe the values have come down. So that's one of those things that you could use to look at the red flags. It's free. If your specific property is maybe not on there, your exact address, maybe put the house next door, like if it's 30 Side Street, put 32 Side Street and 34 Side Street so that you can get an idea. And it doesn't cost you anything, but it gives you a very good sense of what are the crime rates, what are the average property values in there. When was the last time a house sold in that area? That's also important because if houses are selling a lot, it's either an issue that the area is not okay, or if it's selling for high value, it might mean that the people that have lived there are now aging and they want to move out, and that's why all those houses sold. So all of those things help you form a nice picture.
Okay. Ke rata ka gore, the understanding that we're getting is that how reka, how rekele wena hela, because your children are going to have this property. You know, gongwe we rekela gore it's a family house. So you want to retain it in your family. So it's important to know whether you're placing them in the right location, whether if you are not there, and I think it's another important thing, should anything happen to me, you know, what are the things that my children can do concerning the property, and am I leaving them in the right property, in the right location for them to continue living, you know, in that location? Fifi, do we have another question?
Good day.
Good afternoon.
I just wanted to ask something. Say I'm working
Yes.
and I bought a house through
Yes.
the bank.
Uh-huh.
They financed me, and now I cannot afford to pay for that house anymore. And then they liquidate the house. Does my house go to an auction where maybe I could actually buy it again if I've got cash? Or how does it work
Okay.
in terms of auctions? Yeah.
Menfi, you want to take that one?
Yes, I can take that one.
Thank you.
If maybe the bank took your house, there are options that you can follow. You can rather, because they're gonna sell it obviously to someone else that's afford to the house. So what you can do, you can just find a financial advisor that can help you. Maybe make an arrangement with the bank, or I can be able to pay this much for this period of time because I'm not working at the moment. So it's just a matter of making arrangements with the bank so that you can arrange for the repayments.
So it goes back to before we note that there's a problem. Before the bank knows that there's a problem, you must be able to come and say, there is a problem.
Yeah.
Because remember, by the time that your house goes to auction, it means that you've really missed a lot of payments. You haven't been accommodating. You haven't tried to make arrangements. You've just flat out ignored every call that came through on your phone. You've gone to live somewhere else. It's at that point where you have just not cooperated and show that you want to keep your house.
Okay.
So I would find it very difficult for you to be the same person that will go and buy a house back on the auction. Because what's also going to happen is, let's say you owe the bank 100,000 and the house is worth 100,000. Now you're selling it for that amount, but you might still owe a bit of money somewhere in between. You know, so I always say, take the path of least resistance. Work with the institution, get your advisor involved, you know, restructure things so that it doesn't get to that point where you're now standing at an auction and all your friends are there and they're holding the thing up, and, you know, because then you might end up paying 3 times more for your house than you currently owe. Yeah.
I just want
Yes,
to
ma'am.
add, you know, banks are not in the business of taking people's houses. We finance you for a house because we want you to live in a comfortable and safe roof. We're not in the business of selling people's properties. So Mel is very right and say, speak to the bank as soon as you identify that you are starting to have an issue. And there's a lot of options. You know, there's payment holidays. If your situation is like temporary, you maybe just lost a job now and you are hunting for another job, we can pause payments for a short period of time.
Yes.
There's an option to restructure. There's an option to even downgrade. The bank can help you sell your current property to look for something smaller and something more affordable. So we're not in the business of, you know, taking people's properties.
Because it's a loss for everyone.
I like how you are protecting the institutions. And it's an important thing because ultimately, when I retain my home, the bank stands to gain as well.
Yeah.
Because there is an agreement
Absolutely.
between the two of
Absolutely.
us. So, ha ke sa tlhole ke na le tšhelete, ke sa go patale, le wena you are
a
losing
loss,
from your
yes.
side.
Yeah.
And you want to keep me within, you know, within the institution so that
absolutely.
So
You're
ke
absolutely
gain
right.
situation.
Absolutely.
All right. I'm happy everybody understands. Ga ba batle gore re latlhegelwe ke matlo a rona, ba batla gore re dule sentle ko gae. Yes me? I'm happy. Fee,
Kgotsong le kae ma hape?
Re teng le kae ntate?
Re teng. Nna ma ne ke kopa ho nka mme ka nqena ho wena wa institution ya matlo.
Mona ho nna.
Eya.
Okay. Ke
Ma-
direct papa.
Re na le this thing ya local tradition. Yena re tlwaetseng ho e etsa. Ya hore ke rekisa ntlo, ke rekisetsa abuti monana. Then o thola abuti ka di tjhelete from bank. A tlo reka ntlo ho nna. O mpatala like via face to face cash or amfa then ke a tswa mo ntlong ke mo fa senotlolo. Only to find out like we didn't make a paperwork. I didn't take out my names, my ID number, anything. Even title deed, it still have my name, my child. So how do you overcome that obstacles that we used at the location? Like if you check, we have a higher number of the people who pay out their money for the houses, but already that house doesn't belong to them. It belongs to someone. How the institution overcome those problems?
Sure, yeah. So, and unfortunately, it will never be a problem via the institution. It will be a problem of the person antitse tjhelete.
Yes.
A reka ntlo. Empa lebitso la hae ha le yo dipampiring. It will not be the bank's problem. That's where the predicament will be. And especially if it's a cash transaction. If yena o tlo kadima tjhelete, a re ilo reka ntlo, the bank will insist on the paperwork, will insist on the paperwork, will never finance a property without the right process being followed. So that's where the situation is. Yeah, so follow up, yes.
Fifi, there's a follow-up, but
Yeah,
as he gets ready for the follow-up, I think
Yeah.
one of the things that we need to speak about, which is important and it ties with his question, is the process of acquiring property. Because I think what you're trying, the question should be, ha ke batla go reka,
Eh,
ke dira eng? Ke ya kae? And he's right when he says, "Nkatla ka yo me ke rata ntlo ya gago," right? And re bua re le babedi, and you say, "Well, you can buy it, friend." Wa bona? And ebe feletsa sekgotsi sa rona se fedile because you said the house is 650K, and you find that it's more. You devalued your own home.
Yeah.
The bank says something completely different. Ka gore nna, maybe I even know I have more information than you do as a buyer, right? So I think one of the things that perhaps we do need to talk about is the process of acquiring property, so that re ska ra kry-a batho ba rona a sa itse gore, well, I must start at the bank first to go and ask the relevant questions. But aba simolola ka mail and say, I can buy your property, as opposed to starting in the right channel. So I think we should just think about that while he asks his follow-up question.
Okay, thanks, ma'am. According to your explanation, ma'am, it seems like that person who gonna buy that house, it doesn't have any communication or paperwork with the bank. It seems like I went to Mashonisa, get money to buy that house. That means it's like I just took my money and trash away.
Yes.
If it's like that. No.
It shocks him as well.
yeah. So
Thank you, Kialebo. As I've said earlier, I prefer my language, which is so to Monapula. Tikopa Hobota or na, Haibaki Yakilo Rekanto. Dintlo tse ngata makeisheneng a rona mola, you'll find that it's a nice house, it's been plastered and then it's been painted, but you don't know the deep inside or na material e ntseng ntlo ka hare isn't the quality material ka paki ena ya di phone call ya rona ya nthonya ya location. So ke batla tseba rona ge value a price ka tsela ya mofuta of because tlo re ka ntlo eno e jwale eno yo sa iboneng gore ke ntlo ya mannete e entswe mohlomong ka stene sela se re se bitswang gore ke stene sa block stain e entswe ka sona ka hare ka ya pleisterwa ya pentuwa hantle gathe a se quality ya ntlo. And then second question, ho bohlokwa ha kae hore ke reke ntlo e leng hore e sebakeng se nepahetseng mohlomong. For example, let's say there's an expensive house, and then that guy has built it in the township, deep in the township, and then surrounding houses, they are not matching with the house. And then always the people that want to buy the houses say, yes, I want to buy this house, but more it's not right, man. Sebaka se ileng hore e eme ho sona. Ke batla go buisa rona e ka ba sebaka se feng, ka ba rural area, urban area, township, town, private sector, magantlo ele hantle go tshwantse e eme sebakeng se jwang hore ne e be ntlo e nepaetseng hantle e ka rekwang. Thank you.
Thank you. Winnie, what determines the quality of the house?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go into it. My sister had explained some of the dynamics. Ntho tse leng hore di a shebuwa ke sebaka seno lefatshe leno mo le ntlo eo e leng ho yona ke matlo hore na lenane la matlo ke bokae around that place, value. O tlo fumana ka nako engwe hore you are in an area me e leng hore matlo a teng a costa 300,000 mara jwale ntlo eno because yona e se ile upstairs, e se ile jwang, e se ile ka mokgomong. Obviously that's going to be taken into account because motho no rekile material eno who build ntlo eno, so there was value that went into the house. Impa sebaka sa teng matlo a teng on an average a cost about 300,000. Ho ka etsahala hore that alone it drags the value of the house down. It forces, it's like a brick e kenyang price o riska ya hodimo haholo. So wena o tshwantse shebe before o tlo etsa investment ya ntlo eno hore na sebaka pele ke sefeng, na ke matlo a leng hore hona jwale they are considered as one of those properties tse leng hore they are under of demand kapo ke tse mohlala hona le batho ba bang ba buildileng matlo ka mona ka Qwaqwa o fumane hore ba build up those the back room tseno tsa ho thuki malaini tse jwalo hobane ba shebile hore mono the value it might not be high but ba tlo etsa passive income hobane hona ama student a mangata ba hlokang bodulo mono. So things like that are things that go into the price of that value le hore na what is the return on investment how so irekisa kapo o tla ba o ifumana khwedi le khwedi. So wena je ntho tshwantse o etse go re ikopanye le estate agency e tsebang na etsang, especially like my sister hlalositseng hore especially e sebetsang in the area e tla khona le o bontsha hore e motho na intlwena it's not the right value kapo it's too much or ntho tse jwalo.
The team is flighting also the information ya Luxi. Mel spoke about Luxi hore o khone hore o kenya di details tsa ntlo, address, and then it tla o bolella hore property ya hao value ya teng e eme kae, e areaeng e hantle, high areaeng e hantle, whether hona le crime more and how does the crime in that area affect the value of your property like Winnie was saying. So Leona, that communication e teng so o kgona ho e sheba more. Ha re nke question eo.
Thank you very much. I have a famous question again. Do you guys have investments in properties? That's number one. Number two is that is it possible for I have a life cover or life insurance that's with 5 million to approach the bank and say, hey guys, I have this insurance with you. Haki Ishwa, of course, cash out is 5 mil. Then I need this house that's 1.8. Is it possible to do that? That's the second question. The third question, it's towards you, my sister. Why are your services so expensive? Because people who sell houses, their services are very expensive. Please enlighten me why. Then to the banks, it's a more of a question, a story where I come from. I've got a friend of mine, we grew up together, he's a Burki. Yeah, so we were homeschooled from grade 6 till we finished school. So when we finished school, grade 12, This friend of mine, his parents went with him to the bank, applied for a loan, and then he bought a farm. They approved the loan. So now, as a Autiagasi, I want the same, but then I do not qualify for a loan. Then I got to ask his folks, what happened, how does it work? Then his father was like, no, we have been saving for him as little as 20 rand from a young age. So he somehow, I don't know, is it points or something? I just want to know how it works in that case. I don't know if my question makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you get?
Mel, do you want to start with that? I'm going to come, apparently your services are high. We're going to come to that. Let's start with the last question.
Okay, so I think maybe it had to do with his credit score. Yeah. So, and maybe what might have helped there is maybe his parents, they were co-signing or something to that effect. That's also another thing. If you don't have a credit score or a repayment history of sorts, then normally your parents kind of co-sign with you when it comes to property. So I don't know at what age exactly they start checking your credit. It's probably 18. Yeah. And then it's made up of different things. So how when you have an account, how well and how often do you pay that account? Are you paying more than the minimum per month? Then you get certain points and that sort of thing. So checking your credit score is also free. On the Standard Bank app, there's a tile that shows your credit score. I'm somebody that likes to play games. So I love seeing my credit score and watching it go up or go down, and I get annoyed when my husband's credit score is more than mine. I'm like, but what did you do this month? So it's been cool to kind of see literally as you are paying something off how your credit score improves.
Right.
And maybe in another episode when we cover good debt and bad debt, that's something that influences that credit score. Because you could, for example, have had a cheap house that you were paying 1,000 rand a month for 10 years, and your friend could have had 10 cars and he's paying them for 10 years, your credit score most likely would look better because the asset is valued more than the vehicle. Yeah. So there's different things you can do that influences your credit score. So please go check online. You can see it for free. Most banking apps now include it. So it's very helpful because that's what kind of gives you the head start from somebody else.
Yeah. He wanted to know.
Sorry,
yes.
Loretta, just
Yes.
on, I don't know that we've clarified the process necessarily when it comes to buying property.
Let's do that.
Because what happens is we all first go and look for the house and we start dreaming and living in the house already, but we haven't done our homework. The first place you should start is sit with your financial advisor, work out your budget, and see, do you have the capacity to be able to pay that monthly repayment?
Yes.
Do a pre-approval with the bank.
Okay.
And not just one bank, you can do it with multiple banks,
yes.
but then you can negotiate back with your own bank if you get a better offer
from
elsewhere.
some-
Okay. So get a pre-approval. So now you know, okay, I'm pre-approved, I can buy for R1 million.
Okay.
Then you go and you research the neighborhoods.
So Mel, for understanding purposes, a pre-approval is when I go to all of the banks on the panel right now, and I say, I'd like to buy property. And ABSA says to me, we will offer it to you for 1.5 million. But I come to Nedbank and me says to me, I will give it to you for 1.3 instead. But I have an idea.
Yes, you've got
of
a range.
how much I am going to pay. That's pre-approval. So I have not bought the property.
No.
I have not looked at the property I want. I have spoken to my financial advisor, and the bank says, you are eligible to buy a house worth this much. That's pre-approval.
Yes.
Fine.
Because then you've also got a real sense of, yes, I can qualify for 1.5 million, but that means I have to repay back 20,000 a month. That might not be
Right.
what I can afford.
Okay.
And you have to leave room in your budget for every time uncle comes on the TV and gives us extra headaches. You know, so you don't ever want to go to the maximum because you have to make sure that you've got room in it.
To breathe in.
Right. So you must.
So understand
you
what
need
the range
breathing
is, go
space.
get different pre-approvals. Then you know, okay, I can buy anything from $1 million to $1.5 million. Then you go and you research the areas. Things like, do I want to buy a house close to good schools? Do I want to buy a house that is close to the highway or away from a highway? Close to the shopping centers or far from a shop? Do I want in the city or on the outside of the city?
Right.
All of those things. Is then when an agent, with all love due and respect due to them, when they start throwing all these things to you, you already have a picture in your mind. No, that is not within what I'm looking for. Please search for me for these type of things, because it can become very overwhelming. And especially when you're scrolling there through Property 24 and all those things, suddenly you're so far ahead of yourself, you haven't even moved yet. Yeah.
Okay.
That's true.
So I must first speak to the institution, understand what I am worth.
Yes.
That's basically what you're saying. And then I can move ahead.
Yeah.
Me, I think you wanted to
I
say
wanted
something.
to just say
Yes.
something. When you do that pre-approval,
Yes.
it's also important to just note it's based on the information that you input onto this tool, right?
Okay.
So the accuracy of the information you put, because the pre-approval will say how much do you earn.
Yes.
You must be truthful.
Don't hide the tax stuff.
You must be truthful. For this is how much you earn, and then
Yes.
it'll say what are your expenses.
Yes.
Be truthful. Go to expenses, because then it uses that information to say, okay, then you're good for 1.5. If you understate your expenses, it will give you a certain amount, a figure. Then when you apply, you don't get that. You even get a decline because you understated your expenses.
I see.
Very important when you do that pre-approval.
So the information you provide to your
Yes.
your financial institution
Yes.
is critical.
Very.
Because that is what will determine whether you get approved
Yes,
or
and
not.
for how much?
And for how much.
Yes.
Okay. Do we have just just give me 1 second. There was a question on, he wanted to know, you've been noted, sir. He wanted to know if
Life cover.
if you can take your life cover. And Winnie, you can take that question. You can take your life cover and use it
To buy.
to buy.
Yeah, so definitely you can take your life cover and use it as collateral to the bank. So this
Explain
tool,
collateral.
this is security. So this tool that she's talking about, somewhere when you input your income, it will ask you if you have a deposit. This is where your friend came in with money that his friends was with their parents was saving for him. You now put that, yes, I've saved 200,000. Then at one stage, the bank will ask you, maybe they will pre-approve at that time, but later when you do the application, the bank may feel compelled to security. This is now where you say to the bank, in a life cover ya 5 million, that if I die, you can use it to pay off the remainder of the bond balance. The rest then goes into my beneficiaries, or it forms part of your estate. So using a life cover is quite a common thing. E leng hore hona le batho be kopanang le bona ba batla fela life cover because o batla ho reka ntlo. That's because they've already gone to the bank and the bank told them that we actually need a security couple. Do you have any life cover to cede to the bank? That means that when should something happen to you, the first beneficiary ya life cover yenu ke banka, and then the rest then would go to your estate.
Okay, I want us, we're going to take the last question from the floor, but I want us to clarify. A life cover does not buy a house.
No, no.
I want us to be clear so that our people understand what you are saying. Ha ore unka life cover ulo reka ntlo ka yona. Ore
We sebedisa as security.
Correct.
You still have to pay back the bond. You still have to qualify and all of that. The bank just feels compelled. But kapo ba fila hore, yes, ra ibona profile ya hao, yes, ra ibona deposit ya hao,
hantle.
hantle. Hore o qualify, o ka re o ka re tlisetsa le life cover mono hore re tle re kenye mona re bone hore na nke se re be comfortable le rona na. So you are using it as security, sing ho reka ntlo ka life cover.
Aha. That's what I wanted us to clarify, so that people understand life cover high ranking.
No.
You must still buy. You must still be approved.
Yes.
You must apply, be approved, pay.
Yes.
Because that's an important thing.
Pay.
At the
Maintain
end of
the bond, yeah.
Correct. Maintain the bond. However, security, then you use the life
Yeah.
cover.
In
Fine.
the event of death.
Fifi, let's take that last question.
Hello.
Akhe papa.
Na le putso ka ke meketse.
Dad.
Ne ko pa botsa asiun wa matlo. Hore na for how batla ho reka ntlo. Ke ka mohlomong ntse ke budget ke a budget.
Yes.
Hore ke kgone ho
Wa
fitlela.
saver.
Hore ke kgone ho fitlela tjhelete ena go ka reka ntlo. E ka etsa bokae hore e fihlele mono mo ke batlang teng mono. Hore na ntlo ena le yona na ha ke le reka mohlomong o kana thola hore na tjhelete ya teng na theko ya teng na e ho kae kapa theko ya teng o kana thola hore e hodimo mohlomong ha ke re etsa bo ma 500,000
Okay.
bo ma 900,000.
Okay.
Mama le kopa mo botsa hona mono fela mono se ke le bile.
So the question is, when I say I have saved enough to buy property, how much would I have saved? Akere papa, ha o potso ya gago ke gore ha ke re ke batla go reka ntlo ke boloka tšhelete, ha ke re ke yona e lekaneng gore nka nna ka ya ka ilo bua le banka ka yona ke tla be ke eme ho bokae ke potso e o e botsang akere. Okay. I'm the expert this time.
Oh.
Let me attend to
Take
this.
that one.
Let me take that one proudly so.
Yeah.
I think what he's asking is fundamental because what he wants to understand is what is my cap? And when we are sitting here, we cannot determine his cap in terms of saving because we also do not know the kind of property he wants to acquire and where it is based. So in this instance, we would need to, again, do the application, have him pre-approved, and see how much he has saved. That then gives the determination of what package he is able to receive. So come on, Dramang. Leha ka saver, let's say he has saved 500,000. Leha ka saver 500,000 papa. Obori ke nagana gore e lekane gore nka reka ntlo ka yona. O tshwantse o ye bankeng pele. O fitlhe ko bankeng o re ke batla go reka ntlo. Banka e re a ntse o shomarela tšhelete ya gago na o re ke beile 500,000 tikie. And then banka e go direla application. Ba tsaya ba sheba tšhelete eo e o e savileng. Ba ba go bolella ba re all right ka madi a wa savileng ano a re kgona go go na ntlo ya bokana. And then o bo o re all right ka gore lo re halong tsaya lo tlampha ntlo a 2 million, then o kgona go tsamaya wa go batlana le ntlo e banka e reng e tla kgona go go na yona. Mare gone yanong ga nka ka ba go raya ba re well o tshwantse o shomarele bokana. Ba go raya ba re tlo ko bankeng o tle go dula le rona o bo re bolella gore ke saveile bokana. Bone ba go bolella gore ha ile gore o saveile bokana ene madi a wa kreyang ha ile gore o kreya salary ha kgwedi fela ke bokana, and then o dirisa bokana mo gare ga kgwedi, and then o salelwa ke bokana. Bone ba ka go naya bondi ya bokana. Then you are able to go look for the house you want. So Okana, you can visit any bank. Ibile ga itlhoke le gore e nne e wena o bankang le yona. o ka nna ya bankeng e nngwe le nngwe bore ke batla go reka ntlo ba tla go thusa gore o itse gore alright wena ha o leng gone o tla kgona go reka ntlo ya bokana ka gore e wela mo o kgonneng go save teng and then e wela mo e leng gore o kgona go ipatala for kgwedi le kgwedi ba sa go beye under pressure.
Yes.
I'm a financial expert. Yes. I'm
Someone
winning.
get her disclosure, please.
I am winning at this thing. I'm happy. Did I represent everybody well? Yay! Yay! I won today. I want us to run to a short break. When we come back, we're wrapping up this conversation. We're doing very well today, and I am happy. Sit there, don't go away.
Hi everyone, I am Melissa Romain from the Standard Bank Group. I am incredibly excited and I feel very privileged to be part of this program. We are here to help you to stand in front of your money and show it who's boss. We are here to partner with you so that you can take money and own it and for money not to be your boss. So we're excited for all the programs that are coming and we're hoping that you will not only tune in by yourself but that you will bring your entire family, bring your friends, turn it into a block party and let's show money who's boss.
My name is Mahlomela Mashweng, working for Old Mutual as a learning leader. I am giving my commitment that we will support this financial literacy in partnership with Free State Province under the Department of Treasury. We will make sure that we bring everything that we have to ensure that people of this province, they benefit from this program. We have a program that talks to youth that are not in education, youth that are at universities, TVET colleges. We also have a program for people, community members who are working and not working, and people who are working, even those who just started at work. We have a program that will make sure that they make informed financial decisions when it comes to spending their money. I am committing myself to this program wholeheartedly. Thank you very much.
We are back. I am happy. I've learned something new. I am growing financially. I love it. This is not just about our audience, but it's about everybody. And I think everyone is being empowered individually and we are becoming better people. I want us to wrap up this conversation. Mel, let me start with you. Your 3 quick advices on a person who wants to buy property right now.
Okay. Do your research, go and speak to your financial advisor and understand what your budget looks like, get the pre-approval in place, and then just dream for a bit. Don't buy the first house you walk into. If you like something, go and visit it 3 or 4 or 5 times, different times of the day, so that you've got a realistic picture of what that house looks like.
Be realistic.
Before you move in.
Be realistic. Menpi, what not to do? 2 things. What do you not do when you want to buy property?
Don't just go to any other person to buy a property. Speak to experts who knows about the properties, and do your research. And that's what I can say.
Women who want to acquire property. We did not talk in detail about that, but I want you fundamentally 3 things women who want to acquire their own property. Give them advice.
Look, it's possible. It is challenging.
It's possible.
It's very possible. It's challenging. I think this economy, it's challenging for all of us. You know, borrowing has become really expensive.
Yes.
But it is possible, and in fact, approximately 60% of first-time home buyers in South Africa are women. according to a Lightstone
Come
report.
on.
Yes. So as women, we must go out there and not be scared. Let's not be intimidated by the interest rates.
Yes.
Ba re, mosadi o tshwara thipa ka bogale.
Ka mogaleng.
Let's do that. Property is a great investment. It's wealth generation. It's not only for now, it's for your children and your children's children. So invest in property today.
I'm happy. Close this thing for us, Winnie.
So I would say if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Well, you've heard it for yourself. Let me thank our audience. We've had a fantastic audience that has engaged with us. Thank you to our panel. Hopefully next week when we come back, MEC will be back and she will be joining us. We are grateful that we have communities that are willing and ready to talk to us about what we're doing. Ke morwadi ya Kgomolemo. O se buile sekgowa go lekane gompieno. A re yeng gae bagolo. I am happy to join you again as we continue to count the rands and cents. Goodbye.